Hey, coworkers.
Welcome to Coworkers in Crime, the podcast where office chatter meets crime discussion.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Crystal.
Yes, we really do work together.
And yes, we're totally obsessed with true crime.
From water cooler whispers to cold case deep dives,
we're here to bring you stories that keep us chatting way past our coffee breaks.
So grab your coffee,
lock your desk drawer, and let's get into this week's case.
Hi, coworkers. This episode was recorded on February 8th. There have been updates to the Guthrie case. If you are listening anytime after the 11th, please be sure to go check those out.
Hey, Crystal. Welcome back to our water cooler whispers. I love this one.
These are just so cool. I don't know if history is my favorite or water cooler whispers, but it's a close run.
I already have our next history of, so I'm going to start working on it.
I think I want to be surprised. I think I like the element of history is fun to look into, and I enjoy doing it. But your element of surprise you bring to it, I don't know. I do also want to be able to contribute, so we'll have to figure that out.
It was good. I think they're good either way. But today we have, we're going to talk about our cases that we're following and an update to one of the cases that we're following. The first one, this is kind of an update, but we didn't talk about it last time, but Anna Kepner, who was the young woman who was found murdered on the Carnival Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And her stepbrother was just charged.
Finally. Took long enough. I mean, it took a long time to even charge him, but they were treating him as a suspect so early, just not actually charging him. And they were having arguments in court about custody for the siblings of the stepbrother, blood siblings, because their father wanted them out of the house.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about this one is that, he's a minor. He is 16 years old. So they're not really releasing, but the exact charges are sealed because he's a minor, mm-hmm. and how detectives got there and her manner of death none of those things have been released. And I don't think we're going to see that unless he gets charged as an adult.
I wonder do you know anything about the odds of him being charged as an adult?
See, this is in federal court, which I thought was interesting. I think because it took place on a cruise ship.
Maritime.
So,
yeah.
So it becomes federal versus like a state. And I don't know what the rules are for federal.
Yeah.
I feel like, at the state level, I feel like that 15, 16, 17, it's almost an automatic that it seems to go to you're being tried as an adult, even though you're still a child.
I think they look at the brutality too and the demeanor, is this the premeditation. I think a lot of things must come into play when they decide how adult was this decision, even if it was an impulse thing and they're a kid. Sometimes you see that as, well, they're just not fully developed. They got mad, whatever. But if this seemed not like a repeat offense,
because wasn't he like not arrested, but picked up by investigators early on, but for other charges.
Yeah.
Not related to this case. So you got to wonder what's going on in this kid's world.
Yeah. And he got picked up. Well, sorry, scratch. He didn't get picked up. He got the daughter, her boyfriend, they would FaceTime at night. My daughter does this, where she FaceTimes until they fall asleep. I wake up the next day, they're still on FaceTime. Her and her boyfriend would do that. One time, the stepbrother was sneaking in her room at night. And the way he treated her was brought into question prior to this happening. She had mentioned she was afraid of him. She had mentioned he was rough with her. She had mentioned that he had an obsession with her. So that part of it is questionable to me. Do they find any like Google searches or anything of his? I'm curious about the digital footprint he has. And I feel like that might push it over into being charged as an adult, because how long was this going on that he had violent thoughts towards her, because he had been violent towards her before. But she had told her boyfriend, she had confided in him that she didn't feel her parents believed her, that she was afraid of him. Again, all alleged, because they've been really tight-lipped. But yeah,
I think in those cases when a minor is a suspect, they're very tight-lipped, and they should be. Like, mm-hmm. That should stay.
Yeah. The stepmom has come out and spoke. I think the mother has a TikTok. Really wild. Like, saying stuff.
What?
I wish we had video at this moment, because if y'all had seen Rachel's face. Yeah. One of them has a TikTok and has come out and talked about it. And there's just been some weird behaviors around it of what has leaked out that has been very surprising. how do people quote unquote act when they're guilty or innocent or grieving or whatever. It's really hard to say, but that's a weird thing to do. And so in this situation, I just find some of the behaviors very bizarre because I think the
Yeah.
grandparents were on the cruise too. So there was the option to stay in the grandparents' room. So I think she's come out and said some things. And yeah, really weird
Yeah.
case. And
So
I
I
don't
think this is
understand the
one.
maritime guideline, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's whose water were you in? I would assume that's the because I think most cruise ships are not registered out of the US. As far as I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, they do it intentionally for tax purposes, was my understanding. That was
Yeah, so
I don't
hmm,
wanna, like, throw out facts that aren't true. I don't know, like but that has always been my understanding.
I think we'll come back in our water cooler whispers down the road
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
more things happen. I mean, he just appeared in federal court on February 6th. So and then he was released to a guardian shortly after. So I think we're gonna start hearing, I think, a lot more about this. But I don't think this is going to trial anytime soon.
Yeah. I don't either. If it goes to trial, there may be a plea taken in this early on. That's a lot of pressure for that age, regardless of if he acted in the manner of an adult or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Right.
He's
He's
still a
still a kid.
16-year-old. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
And that I'm sure he's not going to want to go to court. But who knows? You know, we've seen weirder things. So,
Yeah. So, but the other one I had was, and you and I have talked about it this week. We've talked about it with our coworkers, and just it's the Nancy Guthrie
the
missing
Guthrie.
person case.
I hoped, when we decided that we were going to spend more time on Banfield, the au pair case, I really hoped we'd get into this one. So I was like, you just pick two and let's spend a lot of time on au
Yeah.
pair.
I am a watcher of the Today Show, and I can tell you when I woke up Monday morning, I do the same routine every day. I put the news on my phone while I'm getting ready, and they showed this missing persons poster from Arizona, and I was like, "Well, that's weird to be showing it all the way over here on the East Coast, but okay." And then it said Nancy Guthrie. I'm like, "Wow!" I'm like, I wonder if she's related to like even before they mentioned she was related to
Right.
Savannah because it's a unique last name.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, she is Savannah Guthrie's mother. She's 84 years old, and I think just America's heart is with this family right now. I mean, I think you could talk to anybody and they'll know about this case. It's been heavily publicized. And I think that, I mean, I check Google probably several times a day trying to get updates. Have they found her yet? Have they found who did this? And there's
I
just
will
so many
I will
theories out
make
there.
you a YouTube junkie before long because I get updates constantly on it because my YouTube's like, hey, there's a new one. Brian Itten is basically camped in front of Nancy's house. It's a KFR, kidnapping for ransom case, which is really crazy because I did not anticipate that. But now they're getting these ransom notes. The FBI is very suspicious of that. There's no motive to pay because there's no proof of life right now. The ransom letters are being sent to news stations. Like, I think TMZ got the first one and then some local station got the second one. So they're trying to figure out, are these two letters the same people? I've seen when someone's at the house, when someone leaves the house. There were people on the roof, which really raised a lot of suspicion, but they're doing a top to bottom sweep. The FBI is super thorough. And once they step in,
Yeah.
they're literally starting from the roof to
Well, I guess
underground.
the roof came in because of the neighbor who
Hmm.
saw drone footage of her house, of the roof, and saw that it was very clean. And she said, and the neighbor was like, she must have just had it like reworked or cleaned or whatever. I forget the exact wording the neighbor used. But then they started, I guess they're looking into, well, okay, now we know that there's been workers at the house. And I think now they're like all the cases we've seen, you start with the family. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not the family, or we can't prove it's the family.
Hmm.
Were there workers at the house? Was there anybody suspicious, like in the neighborhood? It just pulled at my heartstrings immediately because you
Yeah.
could, especially when they released that first video of the three siblings, I could not hold it together myself. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how she's reading that paper without crying. And I think what got me and a lot of people is the fact she called her mommy, and I was just
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh,
This is an
it was just
84-year-old woman. And my husband and I were talking about it last night. Like, I'd pay. And they don't have any proof of life. And that's something that people are saying because the second video says, we heard you. we're going to pay because we want to celebrate with her. I, that part, does she have a birthday coming up, or
I don't know.
if they just mean celebrating being back together? Because the word celebrate always catches me a little off guard, kind of an irrelevant piece. But we were talking last night and she said, we're going to pay you. We got your message. We hear you. We're going to pay. The FBI says typically if you don't have proof of life, you shouldn't, because that money is not coming back. They are going to keep trying to find out who this is, regardless of if she comes home or not.
And they might not be releasing that they have proof of life either. I mean, I'm assuming that they're holding a lot of stuff back. I think they're just, here's a little bit, here's a little bit. I mean, the timeline took, I think, 5 days for them to release? It was like Thursday or Friday when they released that timeline. And I was like, wow, that seems like a long time to go before you release the timeline. But I get it. And I can't imagine. And I know we say that a lot on our episodes that we can't imagine, but really, like, how do you imagine a loved one going missing and you're getting notes and you're not getting the notes? Like, they're going to TV
to
stations.
the news. Yeah.
To
Like
the news, which I was like, that I think triggered me more because I was like, why wouldn't you send it to the family?
I watched an interview with some FBI retired agents, and they were saying this part of it they would be very suspicious of because what happens often when people are missing and you go public about someone missing, it causes bad people to do bad things, and they end up sending in like, oh, well, we have her and we want money, just to get money at a moment of someone desperate to do anything. But the FBI has said, something went wrong. And if this is a for ransom, the people who took her are not the same people who are communicating the for ransom anyway, whether it's people who see an opportunity or they were working together. These are not going to be the ones that actually send that because it's too easy to ping. Tucson is a really neat little place, but they're very used to people going missing in the desert, and they have almost very coldly said, yeah, you guys just gotta look for vultures, sadly. Like, that's how you'll know if she was dumped somewhere. I'm like, ugh. Like, I just think about this poor woman, 84
I don't love
years
that at
old.
all.
Oh,
Yeah.
like 84 years old. She's in pain. She needs meds. There's stuff they found at the house that she doesn't have with her that if she's still around, and I hope she is, she's not feeling great. She can't be doing well unless they have things for her there. So it's tragic to let your brain go there. It's
It is.
awful. Then I'd pay.
And
I'd pay anything at that point.
I
I'd be
would
like,
too.
yes, especially if I had it. You can have it. I don't need it. I want my mom
Even
back.
if I didn't have it, I would
Find a way.
beg people for it.
Yeah.
Like, can you give me this money at some point in my life? I will get it back to you.
Yeah.
And then another interesting thing that they're doing is, and I heard this probably early on with the cell phone tower data, where they can take a look at, but they said this could take months. And I was like, well, that's not helpful.
We don't have months. Yeah.
But they said they can look at it and see what numbers normally ping off of it and then what numbers are different. And I was like, that is crazy that we can do that in today's day and age. But then I'm like, why does it take months?
Well, the first thing
do?
they do is narrow down to a device. They know the time frame, right? And they look at weird devices and how many times that device hit the Wi-Fi. They did the same thing in Idaho. That's how they knew how many times this person had been in the area. You know, when you drive past somewhere and it says, do you want to get on this Wi-Fi? It's the Wi-Fi keeps that. The modem or router, don't let me say like I know what I'm talking about, but one of those picks up on it and they're able to see that. So what they do first is narrow to a device. You can figure out who's on the other side of that device later. Super interesting that they can do that,
It is. And
this public stuff is like, are we tickling wires here? Like, do we have the president saying stuff to freak people out because whoever has her? Can you imagine? Oh God, I'm telling. Like, you would fold in a minute. You'd be
I would have folded.
Yeah, we know Rachel can't get away with anything. I don't think I'm smart enough. I can collect information from people who are smart and remember what other people did. Like, you have to tell me what direction is up most of the time. I don't know that I would, under pressure, think in the moment to do, so I don't know that I would have even gotten that far. But I wonder if they're kind of tickling a wire here, like trying to get people to move around and make decisions because they
make that mistake that gets them caught, or
exactly
that one person
put the pressure.
Appeal. And I thought it was, they had the three siblings and they had just the son talk and then the three siblings again. And I was like, I just thought that was interesting to to have it that way because I'm like, are you trying to appeal to different people? Because you never know. Like in that, however many people, it's more than one person
Yeah.
who took, or it's like, are you trying to like, is there someone that might hear the pain in his voice and be like, I can't do this anymore? Like
Yeah.
this
Do you
seems
think it's I haven't thought much of this. I just thought about it when you said that, 'cause I hadn't thought about the aspect of who's speaking on the public outcries. But do you think this has something to do with someone who has like a stalker of Savannah? Or do you,
that was asked at the very beginning, I think the first
if
press
she's had any
conference.
weird
Has there been any threats made against her? And what was said then was nothing credible. I mean, you imagine,
Yeah.
is she a celebrity? Yes. She's on a TV show. Like, I don't know how you define celebrity. If I saw her walking down the street, would I know who she is? Absolutely. So to me, that's a
Mhm.
public figure. And
Right.
it's like, you have to imagine that the mom has been on the Today Show. She's on her Instagram, like she's seen,
Mhm.
and you just have to wonder if it is connected. And I hope it's random because I can't imagine living with that, knowing like my job
Yeah,
got put us in this situation kind of thing.
but if it's a ransom, then it's an opportunity for money, and you know that it's not random because I know that family has money. So that would
Right.
take the random factor out. And that's the part that I mean, people have made a lot of claims around it being very close to the family, extremely close to the family, and almost an inside thing because they knew where the cameras were. I did hear Brian Enton had said that the first letter is so detailed they do think it's connected. So when the federal agent was like, I don't know, it could not be connected. He was like, well, I know they're keeping it close to the vest, but someone that's seen it, a very credible source, had said there is a very detailed comment about the floodlight in the back and not where it's located, like something super specific. So there's a lot of really crazy things about it that this case is watching it play out. I didn't even, when's the last time we've seen a public ransom? Like that's,
Well, and I also think now that the FBI is involved, I just think they're holding it a lot more closer to the vest than I think they were. And
hmm
that's at no fault to the local police department. That's probably how you handle all your cases. That's protocol. And then the
hmm
FBI came in, they're part of the case now. And I feel like they've shut down a
yeah,
lot of the
yeah,
info that's going out. And is that good? Is that bad? I think that's a whole other episode. Like we could debate it.
hmm
Is more information, less information?
I think
Um,
we'd probably be
but
closer to agreeing on our thoughts on that. It just and I think local police typically deal with like runaways or missing animals and people who are
car
missing but
accidents,
show
yeah.
back up,
It's
and
like,
especially elderly wandering, think of silver alerts and things like that. So I don't think that you follow typical protocol. This is not typical, at all. And for this to be such a public, national, worldwide, I mean, I think everyone's talking about it. So, yeah, I had no doubt this was gonna be one
so
you brought, so I was like,
yeah.
"There's no point in me
So
bringing a case. We
at
always
the
have
end
an
of
overlap."
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like I said, my thoughts and prayers are with this
Yeah.
family as they're going through this, and I hope and pray for a positive outcome for them.
Yeah.
I guess it's another one we're going to watch play out and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Our water cooler Wednesdays are getting packed. It's bizarre
Right?
because there's always crime going on, but I just feel the weirdest things are happening lately. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I just started paying attention. It just these are getting
Right.
weirder and weirder.
They are, and I think we're going to see a lot more with like AI generated stuff, and I just think
That was a
it's coming.
concern on the ransom because I think one of it was a video, and they were like, but the kids don't care. They're like, I don't care if it's AI. We can't prove that. We're just gonna assume it's real and move on. Like, so but there's a lot they're holding close. So who knows what they saw or what the proof of life was? Did they get one or not? Either
Yeah.
way, those kids don't care. They said we don't care. We're gonna assume it's real. We're gonna move on. We're gonna pay. So and, yeah, I can't imagine what they're going through. I mean, that makes my
Mm-mm.
shoulders weak to even think about. Like, I
I know.
feel that in my body. That's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, all right. So, now that we've covered two current events, we're going to cover another current event, but this time with an update. And so on our last Water Cooler Whispers, you brought up the au pair affair, the double
Mhm.
murder trial in Fairfax County, Virginia. And now we have a conclusion to the trial. So the jury found Brendan Banfield guilty on all counts in the killing of his wife, Christine, and another man, Joseph Ryan. The verdict came after the jury deliberated for nearly 9 hours over 2 days. And I got to say, that was longer than I thought it was going to be. I really thought this was a open and shut, like 10 minutes maybe, like we just go around the room and we're
Um,
done. No. So, I
I'm
was like,
telling you,
"Ah."
when the verdict came in, I didn't even see it for a day, a full day. So I've been away. I haven't even seen Rachel. This is the first time I've seen Rachel in a week, and we typically daily are seeing each other. But when this verdict came in, my husband knew it before me. That's the first time that's ever happened. He's not really interested in this stuff, but by proxy, he gets stuck. And so this one, he actually watched trial with me on this, which has only happened in one trial before this and like a little piece of a trial somewhere in there. But this one, he was like, don't watch without me. That never happens. And he had texted me, did you see a verdict? And I thought he was asking. And then once I went back and read it, I was like, oh, he was telling me, did you see the verdict? And then he didn't tell me because he didn't want to be the one. He wanted me to see it. Crazy. I cannot believe
Yeah,
it took
crazy
that
that it
long.
took that long.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
No, not well, in
Well,
our
whatever.
minds. No,
Yeah.
but we're not in the jury room.
No, but
So,
I saw his face. We're not in the jury room, but I saw his face, and I just ugh. The kids say ick. He gives me the ick. I mean, I'm so glad he's been convicted now, so I can say that. But ugh.
so he was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated murder plus using a firearm while committing or attempting to commit murder and child endangerment because the couple's daughter, who was 4 at the time, was in the basement during these murders. Now, the state's theory is that, and this is the part the jury apparently found to be true, was that this wasn't some chaotic home invasion. The prosecution argued it was premeditated. Banfield was having an affair with the family's Brazilian au pair, and I'm going to try and get this name right, Juliana Perez Magalhães. Is that
Mhm.
Magalhães?
Mhm.
And he wanted to quote unquote, get rid of his wife so he could be with the au pair. So the prosecutors, they alleged that Banfield catfished Ryan on a fetish website, pretending to be his wife, Christine, to lure him to the home for what the reporting describes as a consensual scenario, and then tried to make it look like Ryan was the attacker so Ryan could take the blame. And one detail that hit hard in the closing, they said Banfield left his daughter in the basement while all of this was happening. Now,
Yeah.
in a twist, we don't normally see this. Banfield took the stand, and then he proceeded to tell a completely different story. He said he got a call from the au pair about a stranger in the home, went upstairs with his gun drawn, and found his wife naked with Ryan. Then Christine allegedly yelled that Ryan had a knife. Banfield said he panicked and shot Ryan in the head after Ryan appeared to stab Christine. Prosecutors say that Christine was stabbed 7 times in the neck. Now, you're probably asking about the au pair. She testified that back in 2022, Banfield talked about wanting to, quote unquote, get rid of his wife. And she said she helped him catfish Ryan to lure him to the house. She had already pleaded guilty to manslaughter ahead of the trial, and under that deal, the reporting says she's expected to receive time served for testifying. And as for what happens next, and I know you'll be watching, Banfield's sentencing is scheduled for May 8th, 2026, and he's currently facing life without parole. So here we are. That was in our first water cooler whispers, and we already had a verdict. So it's definite that we had to talk about it again.
And I'm looking to see when Juliana's sentencing is. They moved into her room first that she had in the house, and then they moved into his room. She'll be sentenced on, that can't be right, February 13th. I'm so excited. That's Friday. Wow, I cannot believe her sentencing is then. In her plea, the judge can decide whether she gets time served, even though that's what the prosecution said. We're going to push for you to get time served. The judge doesn't have to go by that. There's a lot about the testimony that I would love to underline for you, but for the sake of time and everyone's sanity, I'm not going to make you do that. But part of hers, and if we just talk about hers for a moment, officers that were on the scene had said the little girl was asking, are you my mom now? Are you going to marry my daddy? And she said, I hope so. What a weird thing to say. And if I'm sitting here with these two traumatized, basically they're both kids, and I'm sitting with two traumatized children and I'm listening to this, I'm sure that's out of the ordinary. When you're an officer and you've seen young children in this situation before, they don't turn to the person next to them and say, "Are you my mom now? Are you going to marry my dad?" Unless there's a reason they think that's an option. I can't
Mm.
imagine a young child turning to someone and saying that. So who knows what this young baby had seen for so long of their demeanor with each other in front of. So that's one thing. When you listen to Juliana give her testimony, she is not likable, but to me, she was credible. She is very matter of factly, and that's what people didn't like about it. I'm sure she's doing everything she can to just stay calm while she's on the stand. But everything she says makes sense to me. It fills in a lot of blanks. There was a call prior to the 911 call that is where it's being reported what has happened. There's another one that gets hung up, and she fills in the blank on that. She says that Christine asked her to call, and she just panicked and grabbed her phone and called. And then he looked at her and was like, "No, it's not time yet." And so she hung up. Well, that explains why there was a call prior. So she explains that on the stand, but she also talks very nonchalantly about how Ryan was still moving. Joseph Ryan was still moving. So she just takes a gun out of her pocket and shoots him because she doesn't think Brendan's reacting fast enough. And to me, that is the cold part. That is the part. I mean, you have helped plan this out. She talked about the messages they sent on the fetish website. She talks about how they both took turns sending those notes. If you can do that, 2 years is not enough. I don't care what deal you made. And the judge can say it's up to 10 years. And I would not bat an eye to say, you deserve every second of 10 years. And then they're just going to send her back to Brazil. Now, whether that happens or not, the judge can just say, "Okay, y'all suggested that, I'll give it to you," but doesn't have to. And this is a very fair judge. She was the judge in Johnny Depp's case. I do very much like her. So I'm curious to see if she takes the suggestion or doesn't. So, but her whole testimony was very odd and very, not emotional, but English isn't her first language, so who knows? I mean, maybe it was more to do with that. Maybe it's because her English wasn't her first language and she's so focused on using the right words that there was no
Mm.
emotion, but I don't know how someone gives that testimony without emotion. It was, how do you not feel guilty? And just, she did say some things about, how did she put it? I held those things in and it will make you sick over time. It makes you sick because you're keeping it to yourself. That felt right to me, that with a language barrier, you're trying to tell me how I held this in. I didn't tell anyone. His mom was paying for her lawyer and her lawyer was terrible. Like, he didn't charge his laptop and he was just scattered. And she was like, "Why am I in jail and he's not?" That finally got her to fold because she said it was out of guilt and out of the haunting, and it was making her actually sick. And so she finally told. Bottom line is, do you believe her story or not? And her story makes it make sense. His story
Yeah.
absolutely makes no sense. How he tries to tell this is very bizarre. He can't stick to a plot line. Stick to a plot. Like you flipped around here, and that makes no sense. And
I think it's also, we've talked about it with the Walsh case, like the same flip flop on the stories and plead guilty to these charges, but not to this charge. And I'm going to tell you another story in court on what, yeah, it didn't
and the
work there. I
lawyers
don't know why he thought it was going to work, but
because I think the lawyers, when we went through the last history we talked about how it's almost like some juries want a smoking gun. And if there's reasonable doubt, they'll latch onto it. Give me a reason. And it depends on how the state says it. Like, some places say beyond a reasonable doubt with moral certainty. That's another step of beyond a reasonable doubt. Like, you couldn't reasonably doubt that they did. You're sure, right? And with a moral certainty. So if you think about that, if it's, well, could she have done this? I mean, could this woman have got online and looked for this guy and decided, I want to have this person come into the house, and then he came in and was so confused. So whatever. I mean, she tells this story. That's her story is we set this up. We made her an account. He told me never to get on that account unless her phone was in the house because he was a federal agent. He was he did taxes. He told me we will message on her laptop. So she'll put her laptop by the door. She'll go upstairs. It was part of her routine. She'd go shower and everything. She was a nurse, so she worked very long hours. And that's when they would take her laptop. So they only did it when the phone was in the house. And you explained it perfectly. The story sounds good in theory. So her testimony to me was very believable, cold, awful, horrible. I sure would not want her free walking around. They even mentioned where she came from, the site they used to find her and background check her and stuff. I was like, that poor company, like, this isn't our fault. Like, I was like, they shouldn't have named that company. That's pretty cool.
Well, that happened in Boston too. There was the au pair who, the baby tragically died, and she said she popped it on the bed, but she was British, so popped it means something, something completely different. But they mentioned the company she worked for and, all of it. And it's like, well, do we have to drag them through the mud too? Like,
I don't.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No, because it's unnecessary fear put on that company, and there's nothing they could have done. But of course, you're going to be like, well, I don't know, because that was the case.
Because every time because now think about it, every time somebody Googles that company name, the company's website is not going to be the first thing to pop up. It's going to be about this case.
Unless they pay a lot of money to sponge it out. Yeah. Oh, I would.
They're changing their name. I would change the company name.
Very unfair. So that's part of the testimony that I thought we should really break down. And I mean, I encourage anyone to go watch. If you're going to watch any of the trial, watch hers and his. There were some officers that gave some testimony that I thought was really good too. Some of the other parts that I felt really stood out was she had said that the morning of, he kept saying he had this gigantic meeting. I have this big important meeting. I'm supposed to be chosen to work undercover. So he was supposed to give a big presentation in hopes to get this job that he really wanted. And so that's why he was leaving early that day. He had to get into the office early so he could set everything up. And he just kept saying, like, I had this big meeting, this massive meeting. So he really impressed several times about this big meeting. Another really gross thing about him was how arrogant he was. Like, he mentioned 936 times that it was his birthday. Like, so his birthday was the day before this happened. And he kept talking about how it was my birthday. So it was my birthday and all my friends got me. And it was my birthday. So and hey, so did you know it was my birthday? Like, come on. We heard it was your birthday. Great. He talked about how tall he is. I'm really tall. For most people, they wouldn't be able to see that. And for most people, that'd be really high up. But for me, it wasn't because I'm really tall. Like, it was really the whole like me-ness in this. Like, when he talked about Christine and he talked about when she died. If you watched someone harm someone you love, you watched it happen, you don't say they died. You viciously remember they took her life. She was, murdered. She was killed. You don't use the word died when she died. You watched this happen, and that's your testimony. So it was the way he talked about it and the way he talked about her that was super eerie. And then the way he talks about his relationship with the au pair. So when he talks about how she came on to him, there's no emotion when he talks about the passing, because he basically calls it that it's just a passing. She died. When he talks about the timing of when it all happened, he's very calm. And then when he talks about her, he's got this smirk. And he talks about, well, she was texting me from upstairs and she was like, I'm on Hinge and all these guys on Hinge, like, I'm not into them. And he's like, if you want to have a conversation, come downstairs. And so she comes downstairs while he's cooking and she shows him guys that look like him that have the name Brendan. That's the only people she's talking to, is people named Brendan. And they have to have something like same height as him, or like he's noticing that she's kind of telling him, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for someone like you. And he's so proud of that. Like, the smirk on his face when he's talking about that is gross. He's like, and then then she follows me upstairs and she kind of leans towards my room, and then we end up just going in my room. And you can tell on his face he's real proud of that. And he talks about how she's like, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my job. And he says, you're just an affair. I've had many of these. Ew.
Yeah.
Gross. And then he kind of corrects himself and says, Christine and I have had many affairs. Christine has had them. I have had them. So now he's like saying they've both stepped out and that they just kind of know they're going to stay together, even though they both have like affairs they don't talk about, but we both kind of know they're happening, is kind of how he's putting it out there. So in the morning of, they took her phone, turned it off, and hid it in a kitchen drawer. So now you think about this poor woman is laying in her bed. They had set up that while she was going to catch up on some sleep, the au pair was going to take the daughter and they were going to go to the zoo. So they had already bought tickets. The au pair said that Brendan encouraged that way that everyone would be out of the house and she'd be there alone. But the au pair was going to forget the lunches. And when she came back to get the lunches, there was a strange car in the driveway and someone's in the house, and she panics and calls Christine, but Christine doesn't answer because they've turned her phone off and put it in the drawer. So she's saying like, we turned the phone off, we put it in the drawer so she'd have no way of calling 911. They didn't want her to mess up the plan. When she doesn't answer, she's supposed to call Brendan, who's going to be at McDonald's. He's got a new routine that he had planned, that he's going to go stay at McDonald's. The videos at McDonald's show that he's not really panicked. He just kind of he spends a lot of time in the bathroom. And then he goes to the car. He kind of like dawdles his way to the car. So he is saying when he's talking about it, he's like, yeah, I use the app. The detail, Rachel, that he goes through, he spends a lot of time detailing. I went through the line. I don't want to order on the app, but I want the discount on the app. Sometimes you get a free hash brown or free. And it's like, shut up. This is the morning of your then he's like, I had a cookie. It's kind of like a crumble cookie, but it's a really big cookie. And my friends got it for me the night before because it was my birthday. Like, it was just so gross. Like, I was like, ugh, like he made my skin crawl, but he kept talking about this McDonald's trip. And it was like, clearly this to him would make you realize that he didn't, like, you're supposed to think, oh, well, he's going through so much detail about this McDonald's. It must be true. Like, yeah, whatever. And a lot of people, it's very funny. Go listen to the McAlibi. Like, they're using McAlibi. He was in the bathroom taking a Mick whatever, and then he's got a McAlibi. So, he gets to the house. He says the au pair is like, someone went in the house, and he says, okay, I'm on my way. And he said, the reason I wasn't calling 911 on the way there is because I just thought she was having an affair. We just had affairs and maybe she thought, and so I'm like, but part of me wanted to catch her. He was like, because I was a bit jealous that someone's up there with my wife. So I was like, well, I'll just catch her. So I go through the back door and through the basement, because the front door has one of those alarms that says, beep, beep, front door open or whatever, but you can come through the basement and it won't do that. So that's why he went through the basement. But the au pair and the kid did too, even though they were already outside. So it was like, well, why'd you shouldn't you tell them to stay out? He didn't, because the two of them, from her testimony, had been going to the gun range and had been practicing and got her a concealed carry and all this stuff. So she had one in her pocket, and he goes up the stairs. He had his on because he's a federal agent and he's really tall, and it was his birthday the day before. So he's got a gun on him naturally with all these details we needed to know. He gets up the stairs and you go to the left. Like, it took 80 minutes to get up the stairs in his story. Like, by the time he gets up there and he talks about what he can hear and he gets up there, and this is the part I encourage you to go listen to. Like, I would love to just play it for you, but I think you need to see it. I think y'all need to go look at it, go see it. I would play the clip, but I think you need the whole picture. You need to see his face. But he says that Joseph Ryan is standing over her with this knife, and he says, you can't have her. She has already given herself to me.
Huh?
And what in the silence of the lambs are you talking about? Like, what a weird thing to say. So now this guy is crazy? Like, that makes no sense. Why would he say that? Why would he be standing over her like Smeagol and like, she's given herself to me already? Like, what a weird thing to say. But he's saying that's what, and obviously Joseph Ryan can't defend that. He said he pled with him to please put the knife down. He told him several times to put it down. He said, I'm the police. You're under arrest. He said, I kept trying to coax him to put it down. I didn't want to shoot him. And then he kept saying things like the knife was in her hair. He acted as if he didn't know she was already being stuck, being stabbed. But her father had testified that she had a blood disorder, a clotting problem. So she would have known. That's why she didn't play certain sports, because she would bleed out. If she were to have a hit on the head or a cut or anything, it was known that she had a blood disorder where she would not clot properly. So he's trying to act like he had no idea she'd been stuck already. She had been stuck on both sides of the neck. There was no saving her once that had happened. But he's sitting here acting like there was a whole conversation happening before he finally had to shoot him. Like, the way he's saying it, she was alive and fine when he came in the room, and all of these stabbings happened while he's standing there with a gun. You gotta be kidding me. Or she was already stuck and he didn't realize it. She'd already been stabbed. I didn't see it, but she got stabbed while I was in there. If he hadn't said anything, there would have been no way to fill in the blanks. I think she sealed the deal, because while not likable, super credible and made the story make sense. But the one shining moment of, oh my, I mean, both Philip and I are watching, and prosecutors asking him questions about if he is in love. Was he in love with the au pair? And he's like, yeah, I was very in love with her at that point, because in the beginning, like, it was just an affair. It was a fling. And, we weren't getting time alone. We weren't really getting time to know each other. But at that time, Christine wasn't gone yet. I'm sorry, what? Christine wasn't gone yet? Like, both of us were like, what? What? We rewound it. We were like, what? Go back. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, keep going. Like, what? He said she wasn't gone yet. So that's a weird thing to say. Like, we couldn't really get to know each other yet because she wasn't gone yet. And I was like, I was very disappointed the prosecutor didn't dig in deeper than that. And I've watched too many lawyers that I just love, and defense attorneys and prosecutors are very different. But I will tell you, how she didn't latch on to that and dig in and make him repeat that over and over again. What do you mean she wasn't gone yet? Tell me more about that. You would hate to see me come in if I was a lawyer, because I would have been like, bro, say that again. Say that in my good ear. What did you say? Did you just say? You did, didn't you? So I don't know. I kind of just dumped all that on you, but those are the moments in trial that just blew my mind. So I don't know if any of those stand out to you, as if any of those make you want to go watch some of it, but man, it was gross, Rachel. It was gross.
From the things that you had told me, I was just like, I think I need to go wash. Like, I feel gross just hearing these things. And this isn't like the first affair and then one of the spouses gets murdered. Like, it's not the first time you hear that, but I just think to the level they went to, the fetish website. Finding some stranger who had nothing to do with this, only going on that website when she was in the house. I mean, that's a level of planning I don't think I've ever seen in another case so far. But I feel like it's probably going to come up again.
Well, and for the au pair to say, and we went through several people, because not many would agree to come without meeting her first. That explains why she would have said, oh, not you, not you. Why did she choose him? She chose him.
Right.
Christine supposedly chose him because he was willing to not have a first meeting. Most of them, when they would ask them to just show up at the house, and they said, no, I need to at least meet you once or twice, because imagine how it looks. What if your husband shows up? Like, it looks pretty bad for me. It's not a good thing for me. Well, apparently Joseph Ryan didn't think about that. So apparently he hadn't done this many times, or he wasn't thinking through how this could turn bad for him. And he just did what was asked of him, not thinking, oh no, he couldn't imagine what was on the other side of that. And that's terrifying. But what a great piece for her to add, because that adds clarity to a piece you may not have noticed was muddy.
I think her testifying and turning state's evidence, I think it was a brilliant move on the prosecutor's part. Get her to turn. She's from another country. She doesn't speak this language. Did she have a translator translate to her language so that she could truly understand what's going on? I think when I first heard this case, I was like, oh my God, she did it. Because she was arrested first. And I was like, and at first I felt bad for her. And then, just like so many other cases, then the investigation starts and then someone gets arrested and you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. And I feel like at this point, we shouldn't say that anymore.
He's still protecting her even in his, like, it's weird how he talked about how Christine, he didn't say great things about her. He was like, well, he also said, did you know that he mentioned this? So this is crazy to me that he would even bring this up because it was not already a fact and evidence, but she was a sexual assault nurse. And you're telling me this was a fetish of hers? You're a liar, sir. You're a liar, sir. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way this woman was an SA nurse. And this is what she wanted. I'm so sorry. There's no he gave so many more things that made me definitely not believe him. That part made me not believe him. Her phone being off in a drawer. No, come on. She was a nurse. She always had her phone on her. Always. It made no
Mm.
sense to me. The things he put out there really like anything I had doubt on that I was like, okay, this could be a doubt. This could be a doubt. Okay, the jury could end up thinking, no, he cleared all those right up for us. Like, he was like, oh, you have some things that you should have never testified. This is why people choose the right to remain silent. The story made no sense. You did not like create doubt. You patched up anything I had concern, which is why I don't know if you and I felt differently about why it took so long. That's why it surprised me it took so long, because all he
Right.
did was confirm to me he's guilty.
Confirm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
was
made
just
me
like the
believe
9
the girl more.
hours. I want to be like, can some news program please interview this jury?
Mhm.
What took 9 hours? Like, what was the stumbling block? Where were
They
you held up?
usually will do that. They usually will have some people who come out, or they'll say, here we were this to this. I will say the rule of thumb is you want as many hours as days of evidence, or as days the trial was. So if the trial was 12 days long or 3 weeks long, they want 1 hour per day of trial. And that should be about what is right. I don't even think that worked out in this. I don't think trial was that long. Do you remember how long trial was?
I don't think it was 2 weeks, but well, I mean, I think about all those cases that come back super quick and you're like, "Oh, this is not gonna go well." And then the
Mhm.
ones that they deliberate way longer than you think they should. Um, we've had a couple of those recently where we're like, "What is taking so long to give us a verdict?" And I mean, I get we want them to get it right. We don't want them to be rushed. We don't want them to not consider all the evidence and all that stuff. But man, sometimes I'm just like, if that's what went out, if that's what you had to work with, why? Why did it take? Yep. So I want to know. So if there's any jurors out there, message us. We would love to
Yes.
have you on
Oh,
here. We would love to have you on here. We want to have a chat. Just send
after
us a
I
message.
like a fainting goat through the whole thing, because I will be like, oh my gosh, that will blow my mind. I would love that. They say 3 to 4 weeks roughly, if you consider when trial like started from the
Mm,
seating of jury and everything, but it would be 4, but it's about 3 weeks. So
hmm.
so
It was longer
ideally
than I
nine
remembered.
hours is pretty fast for the fact that it was 3 weeks, if you're thinking it should be an hour per. But I mean, I would love to know what went back and forth. And what's really weird is whenever it's like, hey, we are hung, go back and do it again. Okay, guilty. So it's really weird to
Right.
me that always when that happens, I really want to know what y'all were thinking there, because how do you go from we can't agree to fine guilty? That is crazy to me. And there were some different charges he could have been faced with here. So I'm happy with the charges that stuck. I think the jury did it right. I think and that might have
And I
been
think
where the hang up was, is do we give him this or this? Like, do we feel confident that this was premeditated, or, she admitted she shot this guy after he shot him. He admitted he shot him. So we know what that one was, right? But with
mhm,
Christine, what do we believe? So I think that when you're doing so many different ones, and we talked about this too, do the charges tell the story for you? Like breaking and entering, and then this, and then this, and then this. Like, are we telling a story just with the charges? And was that what took so long? Is we can't decide if it was first degree, or was it second, or was it,
mm.
manslaughter, or maybe
All right,
that's what it
fine,
was.
true,
It could be.
true.
My hope is it was, because when you watch him or her, it's very clear. Like, what are we stumped on here? It's gross,
Right,
but
right.
he just grossed me out completely, and in my
All
mind,
right, so we have to wait till
burn
what,
him.
May? May for his sentencing, but
Hmm.
this Friday for hers, and it'll be interesting to see what the judge says. So
Yeah.
our third water cooler whispers will include an update from this again.
Yeah,
So
of what she got,
that's
and hopefully she speaks after that happens from time to time. We get it from the lawyer. I mean, her lawyer may speak on her behalf. Um,
yeah,
I find her, uh, the whole thing, like her being able to get a misdemeanor. Can you imagine if she took that one? To me, there's some sort of karmic justice there that she wouldn't take the first one because at least this one something got served and she is a convicted felon. That is
right.
done. That she took a plea.
Well, here, I mean,
Yeah.
if she goes back home, I mean, I don't know. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. Do you have
Yes,
to say
I
that you're a
know.
convicted felon if you're convicted in
Yeah,
another?
I know.
Ooh, we're gonna have to look that one up.
Can she babysit there? I tell you what. Mm-mm.
No,
I would
the
not.
answer, if she showed up on my doorstep for an interview, it would be open, close. No.
But
Bye-bye.
if she goes
Thank
to
you.
Brazil and she changes her name or something, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true. Lots of
that's
people do that too.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
man. This
I
was a
don't like
heavy
it.
update.
It was a heavy update. Yeah, this was, but
These
I
are
am
supposed to be not light and fluffy, but these are I don't know what I thought these were gonna be, but
the big
I
update
mean,
ones are gonna be a lot, I think, when we have an update like that. And I'll tell you, I've thought about Faith almost every couple of days lately because I am really ready to start seeing some. I'm really glad you brought that case. I think about that case every
that
couple of
was
days.
man, that one was a tough case too. But, that's what we're here for. We're here to bring the stories, hopefully get other people talking, other people thinking,
Yeah.
and that's why we want to do all sorts of different cases. Those underreported, the still cold cases, the solved ones. And, like we said, we're going to watch that Faith one through the trial phase and do some
Hmm.
snippets throughout.
Yeah. Well, what a great update, and this is our bonus one this week. So what did we release this week too? History. Yeah, history will go out too. Anyway, well, yeah, this was a good one. So we've got a couple of new cases we're going to start talking about that Rachel's picked up for us. I feel like you've become our researcher. I do edits and social media side, and you do finding the cases and case notes, and we're like falling into our patterns here, finding what we do on the show.
It's
It's
fun.
fun.
It's fun. I like bringing the new cases or the cases that we're going to talk about. I'm thinking our next case might be something international.
That'd be a good
My
idea.
only concern with that is that not pronouncing things correctly.
I know
So,
we're gonna
like, I
have.
would really have to, like, research how do they pronounce things? And like we said earlier, are there any, like, words or phrases that we say that mean something completely different in another country?
I think that's what a lot of people run into is do we pop them on the bed when that we
I
think
placed
we're
them
gonna
on the
find.
bed, but,
Yeah.
like, yeah, so that and like I said, making sure we pronounce things correctly
Hmm.
because, like I said, being here in New England, I know for a fact when I listen to podcasts and they mention town names, I cringe sometimes because of how it's being pronounced. I'm like, oh, that's not
Yeah,
how you
that's not
say
how you
that.
say it.
I mean, it's spelled that way, yes, but that's not how you say it. So
Absolutely.
that is
Yeah.
one of my other and
It's a
probably
local
trivial
thing
in
too.
the
Well,
yeah.
it's like I think people see that as a sign of respect though, and we do want to try to do that because if locally we call it like the yogurt shop, there's a road, Burnett Road over there, but it's written Burnett. And people say Burnett, but it's burn it, darn it. That's how we remind people this is how you say it. But is it really that big a deal? No. But if some people say, well, that's not how you say it, you don't want people getting hung
Right.
up on the wrong thing. Like we're trying to go through this. Please don't come after us for that. I did want to tell you recently, someone sent me a book. So one of our coworkers, their spouse sent me a book and said, hey, you should listen to this book. And I was like, okay, because I'm traveling. So Audible is my best friend when I'm traveling a lot. And he was like, I think you'll really like this. It's a fictional book, but it's about a podcaster that goes to Austin, Texas, and is looking through this case and it's watching this case play out. It was really neat that someone is sending me now books. The conversations that have happened out of us doing this has been really neat. In my mind, I don't know if you're getting some interesting connections with people, but I thought it was an interesting connection that I doubt that this spouse would have ever sent me a book prior, but it was like, hey, you should read this
And
book. And I'm so grateful for it.
yeah, and I just said, well, the connections from this is I find it hard to believe how many people like true crime really is something of interest to a lot
Mhm.
more people than I thought.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I thought I was just a weirdo who, like I said to you, was into murder. Not like that.
Not like that.
So, not like that. And I had
Instead,
to switch it up too. I'm into
no, but instead of changing it right away, you were like, I'm into murder, not like that. Instead of saying I'm into true crime, it was easier for you to say I'm into murder, not like that.
murder just fell off my tongue quicker than
Yeah.
true crime. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so like the amount of people that are like, you guys have a podcast? Oh my gosh, about true crime. I'm downloading it right now. Like
Yeah.
it's wild. It's wild.
is
And then I
wild.
invite them to our monthly call and I'm like, hey, join us once a month. We all get all together and chit chat about whatever.
My favorite is when I like the look on their face because someone said, well, she has a crime podcast. And they were like, oh, which one? I'll go download it and listen. What do you like about it? And I'm like, no, it's mine. They were like, wait, what? And I was like, yes, me and my friend Rachel have a podcast. And they were like, no, you like actually have a podcast. Like, when I had my daughter, I remember it took years that I would look in the rearview mirror and be like, that's mine. I have a child. That's weird. Like it took so much time. Like you take them home. The realization keeps hitting you. This is almost kind of like a smaller version of that where they're like, no, she has a podcast. Like her and one of her coworkers have a podcast and they put out episodes. And my gut goes, oh, that's weird. Yeah, you're right. I do. I have one of those. Like it's really weird.
We have that. It's ours.
We have that. It's ours. And it's got a weird level of responsibility. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do. I love spending time with you like this. It's so much fun.
I know.
And
this is fun.
we were
This
doing
is
it
fun.
anyway, but this is way more fun to do. Y'all are stuck with us. So
Yeah,
all
they
right,
are.
well,
They're stuck with us. Well,
until next
until
time, next
next time.
week. Bye, coworkers.
Oh, look at that. We said something together.
It has to be completely accidental. We can't say things at the same time. Like, is there a master class we can take on that? Like how to say things at the same time? We are terrible at it. Very awful.
But we just got it totally
We
by
did.
accident. So until next time, coworkers. That was great.
See you next week.
Bye.
That wraps up this week's episode.
Thanks for listening. Whether you're at your office, at your home, or somewhere in between, we're glad you're here.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Like what you heard, leave us a review and share it with your coworkers.
Got a case you want us to cover or office drama that feels criminal? Send it to us at coworkers.crimepodcast@gmail.com or check the episode notes for all of our social handles. Until next time, coworkers.
Stay curious, stay safe, and stay caffeinated.